Ladera Golf Course. Opened in 1980, Ladera features a full 18 including spacious greens, a large driving range, roomy practice putting greens, and 4 large lakes. Surrounding Ladera, beautiful views of the Sandia Mountains to the east and volcanoes to the west. Ladera is a challenging city-owned course with the longest playing yardage of any other city courses. For weekend tee times and more information, call 505-836-4449. Gecko's Bar and Tapas, a proud supporter of Proview Networks. It's been a fan-favorite spot for food lovers and sports fans. With not one, but 2 great locations, including outdoor patio, an atmosphere you won't want to miss. Gecko's, off Academy and in Nob Hill. Car Crafters, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened? Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened. Dave & Buster's is your destination for fun. Eat delicious chef-crafted food. Try sizzling favorites and new creations from our talented chefs. Drink the coolest cocktail creations. Play the hottest new games to win awesome prizes. And watch all the games in the best sports bar ever. Only at Dave & Buster's.
Duke City Sports Bar. Proud supporter of Proview Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. Catch all the sports action from high school, college, pros, and MMA on one of our 35 HD TVs. Start your night off right with any selection from our delicious menu prepared with fresh, never frozen ingredients. Duke City Sports Bar, Albuquerque's newest sports bar. Located on Eubank and Montgomery, dial 505-433-4020.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome to Red Menace TV here on Proview Networks. Leroy Lucero along with Leroy Lucero. Actually, our good friend Michael Carlisle's headed off to Boise, Idaho, as the University of New Mexico 1-on-1 will be playing Boise State, also 1-on-1. They're on the blue turf this Thursday night, a nationally televised game on ESPN. As many of you may or may not know, Michael also is the board op, or he does production there for the University of New Mexico and Learfield during Lobo football and basketball games. So he'll be out there with Robert Portnoy. He'll have the call on 770 KOB. Or if you want to watch it on television, of course, it's on the big one, ESPN, this weekend, as the Lobos make the ESPN. Gosh, it seems like it's been forever, but I know last year they made a couple of appearances in ESPN towards the end of the season. But not necessarily the game that we are looking to. Obviously, everyone looks at Boise State as the #1 team in the Mountain West Conference usually, though San Diego State has been giving them a push for that as well. Yeah, Boise State's 1-on-1. They're coming in, they're limping in. They have quarterback problems, injuries, and not sure exactly who's going to start, whether it's Rippon or the young kid, and how much time they're going to play. They also have a wide receiver down. So Boise has their own problems up there in the Smurf turf, as they haven't really torn anybody up. And of course, as we all know, the University of New Mexico 1-on-1 after beating Abilene Christian pretty well, FCS school. They come home and have the New Mexico State Aggies come to town. Yes, the New Mexico State Aggies came to town, and while the final score was really close, the Aggies really walloped the Lobos. There's no way to put it. 2 weeks in a row, the University of New Mexico Lobos come out, in my opinion, extremely flat. marched the ball down a little bit. They get, well, against Abilene Christian, they marched the ball down. We talked about that. Stumbled at the goal line, gave the ball up on downs, and Abilene Christian was able to take the ball 99 yards and score a touchdown. This game, or this week, the Lobos opened up with a fumble on their second possession. I'm sorry, second snap of the ball, and it was ugly after that. I mean, I don't think the Lobos were ever in the game until the fourth quarter, as it was just pure ugliness. New Mexico State took that fumble, quickly punched it in, and then the Lobo offense never got off the line of scrimmage, neither did the defense. In fact, they were blown backwards most of the time. Lobos running their 3-4, which is fine, but getting no pressure on Tyler Rogers and New Mexico State Aggies, who had all day, and with 8 defensive backs cruising around back there, well, 8 backs, and then obviously your linebackers as well. They seemed lost and confused most of the time, as Rogers had plenty of time to find receivers that were wide open. Just like Abilene Christian, obviously New Mexico State, Doug Martin and his staff obviously looked at the tape and saw where the problem was for the Lobos, or where it's been so far this year, and that's that short passing game. Those little outs and hitches have been killing the Lobos all season long, and this game, same thing. But it wasn't even that. The intermediate and long ball was there as well, as the Lobos, like I said, it seemed like their defense was in total disarray most of the evening. Didn't really get off the snide until the fourth quarter, when the whole team really kind of did that. Prior to that, the Lobos looked awful. I mean, there's no other way to put it. And many of you know I'm a huge Lobo fan. I give the Lobos plenty of credit, probably more credit than anybody else when it comes to football than anyone I know. They were terrible. Absolutely terrible, from offense to defense. Special teams was rough. Corey Bajorquez, I'm going to pronounce his name wrong. Corey Bajorquez, the punter, he did really well. Jason Sanders did well with his couple of kick attempts and the one field goal in the first half. But really, other than that, I mean, the Lobos were stinky. Just looking at the box scores real quick, just to kind of go over the way it looked. Like I said, the Lobos immediately turned over the ball, and then Rogers hit O.J. Clark for a 30-yard touchdown pass, where he was pretty much wide open. One good thing, I guess, there was a blocked point after, or it was a fumble, and Jalen Burrell picked it up and rumbled back for the 2-point conversion, which at that point, Lobo fans were like, whoa, because they had just turned over the ball, and it was just like, all right, they turned over the ball, they gave up a quick touchdown. We were here last week, but hey, check it out, other than last week, they actually ran back the kick, or the point after attempt, and scored 2 points on that. So it's 6-2. You're thinking, all right, it's going to be one of those crazy, wacky scores that New Mexico and New Mexico State typically puts up. And then the Lobo offense came back on the field and looked bad. I mean, they had a couple of drives. There were a couple of drives, and but they stalled out once again in the red zone. Or they stalled out multiple times. And then Isaiah Lottie scored an 81-yard touchdown pass from Tyler Rogers. We're not really used to that. Lobos get that one field goal. And then Dylan Brown with a 39-yard field goal. Isaiah Lottie, once again, 17-yard pass touchdown. And then Jaleel Scott, he of ESPN fame, he also got one there in the third quarter. And that was it for New Mexico State. But by the third quarter, it was 30 to 5 is what the score was. And to be honest with you, it wasn't even that close. It wasn't that close at all. Lobo offense can't run between the tackles right now. They just can't do it. I don't know what the situation is. I know they've got, they're working in new offensive linemen. They're young. They're trying to figure it all out right now. But they look awful. I mean, there's just no way about it. That's two games in a row. You get down into the red zone. What was the bread and butter of this team since Bob Davie has been here has been using that the dive plays and the between tackle runs and powering up and obviously breaking into that end zone and scoring those points. Or even if they're not in the red zone, they'll bust it open and you get a long run. Right now, they're not getting long runs or short runs. Anything down the middle has been pretty much bottled up. Bob Davie talked about it at his press conference. Talked about the fact that they're using the defensive ends to pinch in the runs and forcing everything inside, and they're bottling up the Lobo the Lobo offense right now. Their running game is it's awful. I just got to say it. Lamar had a rough game, no doubt about it, as he's not pitching. They can pitch the ball somewhat, and they had some success on that, minus a fumble or two or bad pitches. But that's being taken away. Obviously, Lamar's not able to hold on to the ball and run, so they've been trying to rely on the passing game. Lamar's a good passer. He's not a great passer. This Lobo team's never going to be that prolific pass offense, or at least I don't believe it will under Bob Davie. So obviously you have the passing's rough, your running's rough, your quarterback is getting pressured, your running backs aren't able to run between the tackles, the quarterback's not keeping the ball. I think he's making the right reads, it's just that everything's getting shut down. The running backs aren't able to make some cuts. Sometimes they are, and they're able to break into the outfield from the pitches, but right now they're really having a rough time with that. So your triple option offense right now is really has one option, and the other part of the triple is kind of being shut down. Now, obviously, the Lobos are going to go play some tougher competition in Boise State, who traditionally has had trouble with the Lobos as well as Air Force's triple option. Let's see if the Lobos can capitalize on that. Because if this offense doesn't score points, this team can't win. I mean, I know that sounds kind of cliche, but the reality is the Lobos' defense isn't that good right now either. And predominantly they haven't been great. Well, Bob Davie has been here either. I know they've got some talent on this team. I know that they've been a little bit stronger, or they look a little bit more talented and stronger than they were in years past. However, for the past 2 games, they haven't shown it. They haven't displayed it. Very little pressure on the quarterback. Tyler Rogers had all day, the entire game. I'm trying to look up his stats right now, as they were just they were pretty huge. Rogers actually went 34 of 57. He did have the 1 interception, and he had 401 yards passing, along with 4 touchdowns and 1 sack. That's it, 1 sack. And other than that 1 sack, and I believe in that play, he rolled out and rolled out and rolled out, tried to take the ball down and run, and got stuffed right there. Other than that, Rogers really pretty much had no pressure on him. The Lobos' 3-man front just did not have the opportunity or the ability to get into the offensive backfield of the New Mexico State Aggies. They did bring in a few more rushers towards the end of the game, and we'll talk about that, because as putrid as the Lobo team looked in those first 3 quarters, and there's no other way to say it. They did have a 1 kickoff return by Elijah Lilly that looked like it was going to bring the Lobos back into the game, but unfortunately there was a holding call somewhere down the way. I don't know how. I guess he held him because his hands were, I don't know. There was I'm not going to sit here and complain about referees. Other people can do that, but I'm just saying there was a holding call that brought back that touchdown and really started to get the crowd that was totally into it. And before I move on to that 4th quarter, I do want to give credit to the crowd. It looked like there was over 30,000 people in the stands, Lobo fans. The east tailgate lot sold out early, or filled up early, so they had to shut that down because it was filled with tailgaters. And this is like 4 hours before the game. The west parking lot by the pit was full. They couldn't squeeze anybody in there as well. I believe the parking lot in actually there at the stadium was full. People were parking across the street, Isa Dukes Field. Some were parking in C&M. Big crowd. I think a bigger crowd than UNM was anticipating, as they haven't had big crowds lately. They ran out of there's a lot of complaints about concessions running out, a lot of complaints about water being warm and running out of food, long lines to get in for will call, as well as for people that were picking up single game tickets, wanting to purchase those, long lines getting into the stadium, long lines for concessions. I'm just going to say this to Lobo fans. Don't complain about the long lines if you're coming to 1 game a year, all right? I mean, honestly, you had the opportunity to pick up season tickets during the entire offseason. You could have had your ticket. I got in there right to an hour and a half before the game started, like I do every game. I knew exactly where I was sitting. So did the people that I hang out with. They're in the Red Menace for the past 17 years. We all knew where we were sitting. We all got into the stadium. There was not a problem. Why? We all had our season tickets. If you have your season ticket, you don't have to worry about anything. Obviously, here's another thing as far as concessions and that sort of thing. If people are buying season tickets, they know, hey, we're going to have 27,000 people in the stands guaranteed because of the season tickets. Trust me, they will appropriate enough food, water, and those sorts of things, and add more concession stands or opportunities for people to get food. But if it's a walk-up crowd, which New Mexico traditionally is, they're not going to have that. They don't want to have food that's going to go to waste. They're not going to have as, obviously the ticket windows and that sort of thing are going to show up differently. And, oh, by the way, if you're showing up at the last minute to buy your tickets and get in, it's going to take a little while. I mean, I know Eddie Nunez, the new athletic director, was announced, and a lot of people were talking about complaining, because that's what we do well in New Mexico. We complain a lot. We're complaining about the lines and that sort of stuff. But once again, you buy your season tickets before the season starts. Then you don't have to worry about waiting in line to buy a ticket then. Then obviously that gives the opportunity for the University of New Mexico to look and see how much food and water and drinks and that sort of stuff that they need. Make sure the appropriate gates are open, get everything squared away. You're squared away, all for buying a season ticket. It's not that difficult. Unfortunately, I don't think the Lobos are going to have to worry about that kind of a crowd size again, as losing New Mexico State, Lobo fans are notorious bandwagon jumpers, notorious whiners, like I talked about, notorious complainers. So I'm sure the majority of those that are complaining and whining, they won't be back anyway. Already on social media, you start seeing the when does basketball season start post. I get it. You have a full stadium in there. You have tons of Lobo fans, fringe Lobo fans. There was some excitement built up, I think, for the past 2 years being in bowl games. Obviously, last year winning it. There was some heat. There was some pop in the papers, on this show, on radio, with the Lobos coming off that New Mexico Bowl victory, or Gildan New Mexico Bowl victory. Hi, Jeff Simbieta. Coming off that victory, seeing the positive stuff that was being written. Obviously, the Abilene Christian game, the Lobos did win. They were 1-0. We talked about it last week, Michael Carlisle and myself, about how important it would be for the University of New Mexico to start the season off 2-0. I can't remember the last time that happened. So how important that would have been, and how big this would have been for the Lobos had they won the game. They didn't win. So Lobo fan being Lobo fan, they ain't going to show up. You're not going to see a 30,000. The only way they show up is if all of a sudden the Lobos go on a tear. They play Boise State on Thursday night on ESPN, like we talked about. They win that game, go to Tulsa, win that game. Air Force comes to town. You might have like 25,000 in the stands. You win that game. All of a sudden, these games start to get more important. Maybe people show up. Maybe they don't. I don't know. I'm just saying this was a real lost opportunity for this University of New Mexico football team. I know Bob Davie talks a lot about it's not his job to worry about ticket sales. It's not his job to get fans in the stands. But darn it, this game would have been huge. This game would have been big. Anyway, back to the fourth quarter real quick. I just want to throw that little commentary in there. Fourth quarter real quick, the Lobos down 30-5. Pretty much looked like the Lobos were toast. And they were toast. I mean, there's no doubt about it. They were down 30-5. They looked flat. As I said, 2 games in a row now, the University of New Mexico Lobo football team has looked like they don't, like, I don't know if they're like just chilling. I don't know if it's just the attitude that they have, but that swagger that they had towards the end of last year, where they went into every game with the idea, with the look and the idea that they were going to win and they were going to be aggressive and they were going to play hard. That look hasn't been there this year. Against Abilene Christian, it wasn't there. And now against New Mexico State, it wasn't there. And this look of flatness, this look of like, oh, well, we're just going to kind of play patty cake. We're not going to make the tough tackles. We're not going to get in there, put our noses in there. I'm not saying it's happening. I'm just talking about the optics of it. They look flat. New Mexico State, okay, I know the idea is like we want to give New Mexico State credit and this and that. And that's good. They did. They played a great game. But really, the Lobos looked flat, and they never got off the snide up until the fourth quarter. Obviously, Lamar was taken out of the game. When he was taken out, we weren't sure if it was due to injury. I had called upstairs to find out if it was an injury situation. They said they didn't know. They were going to try to find out. We find out after the game that no, it wasn't an injury situation. It was actually a decision by the coach, by Coach Davie, to sit Lamar down and bring in I know I'm going to pronounce his name, Tuitoi Tavaka. He came in, first time drive, not so much, things looked the same, and then he hit, they had a nice drive. Chris Davis had a 5-yard pass from Tavaka, and then they tried that 2-point conversion, It didn't work. All of a sudden, the Lobos get an interception. Jay Griffin, who all of a sudden is turning into a star there at the wide receiver position, has a 61-yard end-around run, which was exciting. All of a sudden, there was things going. Lobos were popping. All of a sudden, a few fans, and I shouldn't say the few because there was quite a few that actually stayed. And all of a sudden, they were given something to cheer about as all of a sudden there was like a hope. Lobos get the ball again. They drive down. Unfortunately, the drive stalls again. In the red zone. They weren't able to pick up the first downs or the touchdowns. That was a killer right there. And even before the 2-point conversions that failed, that was a killer as Jason Sanders came in and had a 22-yard field goal. But still, the Lobos had a chance. The defense all of a sudden is playing tough. All of a sudden, and let's be honest, the Aggies also took their foot off the pedal a little bit. They weren't throwing those little dink and dunk passes that they were before. They slowed down. All of a sudden, they're trying to run the ball out. Rose, who was really quiet, all of a sudden got a little bit of yardage there in the fourth quarter as the Aggies were trying to run it down. But the Lobos were still hanging, and they got the ball back. They run the ball and get once again, Jay Griffith, the fourth, once again gets a touchdown pass from Tavaka. It's 2 points down, 30-28. Lobos have to go for the 2-point conversion. There's only a minute 27 left, and unfortunately the pass failed. Quick thing about the comeback. First of all, it's great. When you really think about it, the Lobos aren't a throwing team. They're not. They're not built to throw. They're not meant to throw. That's not the way that Coach DeBest has his team set up. But they did. They threw the ball, and they threw it pretty well. More attempts, I know, than Bob Davie and company would like with the 38 attempts. But they did. They threw the bell well. They scored some touchdowns. But with those 2-point conversions last year, years before, Lobos would, once again, like I said, they would put their working helmets on and just put the ball in a ball carrier's hand and run the ball into the end zone. That was Lobo football. Lobo football was about punishing the opposing defense with that run, powering up on them, knocking them on their backs or their butts, and not allowing them to stop them. 2 times the Lobos elected to win their 2-point conversions to go to the pass because they know that they can't run inside right now. 2 times they're in the red zone. One in the first quarter that could have helped get them off the mark and maybe kind of got this team going a little bit. And then obviously in the fourth quarter as well, when the Lobos were desperate for points, they could have definitely used a touchdown at that point. Twice now. The Lobos weren't able to convert, and they knew they weren't able to convert and had to rely on the pass. This team can't run, like I said, right now between the tackles. I know Coach DeBest and Coach Sage are working on it. I know it's frustrating to Bob Davie. There was an article in the paper, Rick Wright, where Bob Davie was talking about the lack of running up the middle. So I know that they're trying to address those things. They have to address them fast. Boise's coming. So anyway, that's the game right there. That's the way the Lobo game looked. I think I covered everything. Offense, defense, special teams, production, as well as attitude. One last thing I do want to give this team a lot of props. As putrid as they were in the first 3 quarters, the fourth quarter they were hot. They worked hard. Tavaka came in. I think he provided a spark. Jay Griffin obviously provided a spark. The running team started providing sparks. The turnovers, way too many turnovers. You can't put that many balls on the turf. You can't throw those kinds of interceptions. Lamar had a horrible game. There's no doubt about it. 50-year senior, should have things down. Things are going well, but once again, remember, this guy's brought in to be a running quarterback, run a triple option. He's not brought in to be an air throwing quarterback. He can make throws, absolutely, no doubt about it, but he's not. You're not going to live off that guy's arm. That's just not who he is. And honestly, that's not who this team is. Now, Tavaka came in, and I'm reading this because obviously Lobo fans always looking for a reason or something to complain about. Now it's the wannabe quarterback controversy. This team doesn't throw. They're not built like that. You can come in like that for one time, and that's exactly what Tavaka did. But to be honest with you, there's going to be now film on Tavaka. There's going to be things like that, and this team's got to go back to what they are. Their bread and butter is running the ball. Look for Lamar to once again start the game. That's not going to change. He's going to play. They might get Tavaka in a series or 2 here or there, but let's go back to what happened last year with Apodaca and Lamar. It was kind of a disaster at times when Apodaca came in. Not because he's a bad quarterback, because he's a good quarterback. But that isn't what this team is. And that, until Lobo fans realize that's not what this team is, then we can stop with all the quarterback controversies. Tavaka's going to be a good quarterback starting next year. He'll be a good quarterback this year on the time that he gets to play and if there's an injury. But Lamar is our starter, and let's stop. Why don't we take a quick break? We'll come back with Micah Frankel, CageMinds.com. I know he's got a lot of stuff to talk about. I know John Jones, his B sample also came up positive with the steroids, so it looks like John Jones might be done. I'm sure Micah will talk a little bit about that, as well as everything else that's going in the world of MMA and combat sports. We'll be back right after this on Red Menace TV.
Right in front of y'all, he missed it. First attempt, still has it. Fires it in, y'all, from the angle. How'd he do it? It doesn't matter. It's in the back of the net.
Speaking of urgency, there goes Gennady Jones. He could be gone. Jones at the 50. One man to try to catch up to him. He's not going to do it. Gennady Jones scores. Touchdown. Sandia, 80 yards.
Through air, double pass. Austin Heiss fires wide open. It's Derek Reyes, and he's going to score. Touchdown.
Tran will kick off, kick his field at the 8-yard line. Mahoney's got some room.
Oh my
One
gosh.
man to beat. Mahoney might be gone to the house. Don't see anyone catching him. Wow. Mahoney is gone. Touchdown. Just like that. After El Dorado scores, Mayfield comes and strikes right back, Roger.
In overtime for the win. Callan Balin. He's in. Touchdown. And the Rams have won it. What a big time game tonight. Callan Balin.
First down and 4. 40, 35, 30, 25, 20. Redmond will score. Redmond Troy, 47-yard touchdown run.
And there goes Gennady Jones. This could make him more. He is off to the races. One man to beat, and he's not going to catch him. Touchdown, Sandia.
He ran so hard and so violently, he ran out of his shoes, Scott.
Start the party off in the first quarter. Here's the handoff to Milton. Look out. Milton's off to the races. Shot out of the cannon, and he's going to score. Touchdown.
How about the way he accelerated when he saw pursuit?
School in Arizona. Ball in the back of the net. Finally. That set piece opportunity.
I think both Hawks defense and offense have stepped up. Oh, wow, they got to Schreier there. I don't know how he got that kickoff. Field it at the midfield stripe. There's a penalty marker. Verner's off to the races. Gotta be stop him here. He's got a touchdown. We'll have to check the laundry. Nice.
Folks, there's no other way but to be all in. Either he's Lord of all or he is not Lord at all. And you can experience the real and authentic, true life change that only God can provide to humanity. See, when we truly encounter Jesus and purpose to know him and follow his teachings, hashtag life change will occur.
VR Junkies is a virtual reality arcade We specialize in all things VR, from the simple phone-based headsets to cutting-edge full-body motion systems. Check us out at the Coronado Mall. VR Junkies. Don't sacrifice quality of flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a #1. Cover it with green stuff, 1 scoop is not enough. Find a booth that's real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Our interns here at Proview Sports Network get pretty competitive. Rivalries are real.
So with the big matchup between the El Dorado Eagles and the La Cueva Bears, time to make my pick here on the Proview Rundown. I'm going to go with the El Dorado Eagles. You know, I'm going to change my decision, and I'm going to go with the La Cueva Bears. They're feeling it. All right, hey, calm down. Guys, you do it every time. This is ridiculous. You know what? I'm going to be in makeup.
Football's back right here on Proview Sports Network. All the best rivalries, all the best action, every game on Proview Sports Network, Comcast 26, and the game of the week on My 50 TV. Don't forget, every Proview Network sporting event is on sale at our DVD store. Go to www.proviewNetworks.com to buy your DVD today. Looking for some exhilarating fun? It's at All Out Zone. All Out Zone showcases Nerf dart tag games, from team elimination battles to human versus zombies, pitting 2 teams against each other in fun, organized chaos with trained referees, music, and a full arsenal of Nerf blasters. You need team parties, birthday parties. We can customize the party to fit your needs. Visit us at the Coronado Mall. Give us a call, 505-444-6964. All Out Zone.
Sadie's is a proud supporter of New Mexico high school sports and athletics, and we here at Proview Networks would like to thank Sadie's for their continued support in helping us bring you all of your New Mexico high school sports coverage.
Hey everyone, Adam Deal here with Proview Networks. Extreme Clean is a proud sponsor and supporter of Proview Networks and all high school sports athletics. Owner Mike McLean and Extreme Clean specialize in carpet cleaning for apartment, realty, business, and residential clients. With over 20 years experience, attention to detail and quality customer service matters. For more information, give them a call, 505-221-6440, Extreme Clean.
What do these interns even do on their break, man?
I don't even know. It's probably way too crazy.
Football's back right here on Proview Sports Network. All the best rivalries, all the best action, every game on Proview Sports Network, Comcast 26, and the game of the week on My 50 TV.
Welcome to the place where we talk about people getting punched in the face. This is Caged Minds. I'm Micah Frankel, and this week we have a John Jones update for everybody, as Leroy kind of left us with a lead in. The B sample has been tested, and like every other time that a B sample has ever been tested, it is concurred with the A sample originally found. Jon Jones is one step closer to what would be the death penalty, the 4-year suspension from USADA. Is everything definite and finalized now? No, but could things look worse for him? Probably not. This did no help. There's obviously still no reason how this substance or another illegal body got into his body and caused this positive test. Jon Jones is in a bad way right now, and we are expected that October 17th he will be in court, so you say, with USADA and the California Athletic Commission to look over this matter and have both sides start arguing. We'll see what that leads to. Not fully sure right now. It could lead to the 4-year suspension. We could get a 2-year suspension. Again, it looks like nothing good for Jon Jones, and he is one step closer to being guilty and unfortunately labeled as a cheat, which, again, many had suspected. It's totally being talked about right now, but again, nothing positive on the Jon Jones side. Everything is still falling in line with him probably having taken steroids and looking as a cheat. But right now we are still awaiting the due process to fully play out, but the B sample that could have been some help to him did nothing positive and just reassured what everybody was already thinking. There was a steroid in his system at some point between the weigh-in, it looks like, and prior to fight night. Maybe it was one of those ones you could take and it would dissipate out of your system before you were tested, and obviously he was tested inside the timeline where it was still active in his body. It's not the craziest thing, because Chad Mendes, Team Alpha Male, former UFC featherweight title challenger, also was caught with the product. His was a rub-on kind of cream, but still was one of those things that wouldn't have tested positive if they had not accidentally tested Chad at the same time when he had taken that substance. So it leads to that positive test. Some of these products do have that ability to, I guess, help the athlete cut the corners and cheat as much as possible, that they're only detectable for a couple hours. And I guess on the good side for us as sports fans, USADA has caught some of these guys earlier while the body is still able to be tested for. So nothing positive on the Jon Jones side. But we did have a UFC event this past weekend, and we were expected to have a New Mexico fighter challenge for the UFC title, talking about Ray Borg taking on Demetrius Johnson for the flyweight title. That was the expectation. But then Thursday night, 12 hours or so before the weigh-ins, news is breaking that the UFC medical team has pulled Ray Borg from the fight. Ray Borg did not pull out of the fight. Ray Borg was pulled from UFC 215 due to health concerns, being infected with a viral illness, and the UFC doctor saying he could not compete. Now, who called the doctors, why Ray got checked out, how he was feeling, how his weight was being managed, and what was going to happen on the scales Friday morning, we don't really know. People are quick to point out that this has not been the first fight week trouble, though, Ray Borg has had. He has missed weight for 2 UFC fights, and this is the 3rd time that within 10 days of fight night, Ray Borg has pulled out of a UFC fight due to illness. Well, illness cannot be definitely construed to be something to do with the weight cut, but they do kind of coincide with each other. You're cutting weight, you're weakening your immune system, that's leaving your body open to be attacked by these illnesses. And if he is not able to make the weight safely, which would be not getting sick, not having these illnesses attacking Ray's body, it could be time that the UFC says maybe you take a fight at 130, maybe you take a fight at 135, so that we can see that you can make the weight healthy and that it's for your own safety, that you're not getting sick. Maybe the UFC does feel this was just something that was in the air. He got a virus. It happens to all of us every day. And maybe we do see what is expected, a rescheduling of this title fight to UFC 216 next month in Las Vegas. That is Demetrius Johnson's expectation, but he is unsure if at this time Ray will be in the shape to be able to make Fight Night? Will this become a problem? It was one of the reasons why Demetrius Johnson did not want to fight bantamweight TJ Dillashaw. Dillashaw, we didn't know if he could make weight coming down from 135. Well, the same issues are popping up with Ray Borg in a matter of we don't know if the weight cut is affecting him getting in the cage come Fight Night. It is a process that will have to play out and see what the UFC feels. If they give Borg the title fight, they feel it was just an illness, it's just something that happens. If you see him pulled back, Borg, and you see Demetrius Johnson possibly fighting Sergio Pettis or Henry Cejudo. Henry Cejudo, a big knockout of Wilson House in the first round this past weekend. You can see what they're thinking by how the UFC will react, and that is quite frankly up in the air at the moment. How will they react? It was obviously a bad situation, and it has to be awful for the fighter. The biggest moment of your life, the biggest moment of your career, a title fight, and unfortunately you had to pull out of the fight. Now, obviously, there's reasons. Maybe there was a flaw in the system. It's being reported that the Borg camp has parted way with the nutritionist they were working with for this fight. Maybe that had something to do with it. Maybe he will find that right method to getting his body down to 125 pounds. But right now, until the UFC makes a move, we're kind of up in the air. We did have a UFC event, like I said. The new main event went down and was a lackluster fight ending in a controversial scorecards. The only thing that was a definite in this fight was that Amanda Nunes defending the title against Valentina Shevchenko, a rematch, a highly anticipated one that again falls short. Just like Tyron Woodley Wonder Boy did, this fight fell short of what the first one was when we had greater expectations of a more epic contest than what we got the first time. Shevchenko was the counter striker. Nunes was applying the forward pressure, but was hesitant to close the last foot of distance and really attack. The one thing that all the judges agreed on was the first round was Amanda Nunes, and then from there out, you can find every round being scored differently. Judge A, Judge B, Judge C, Amanda Nunes would win each round. No, Shevchenko would win each round. It was such a back and forth, close fight, but it was a close fight from a lack of activity, a lack of aggression. We expected to see a much better offensive output out of both ladies, even though Shevchenko did deal with a dislocated finger, had her team relocate the finger in between rounds 1 and 2 and continued to keep going. Shevchenko feels she was robbed. It was a close fight, and the champion gets the nod. Amanda Nunes now defends the women's bantamweight title for the second consecutive time. What's next for Amanda Nunes appears to be nasal sinus surgery. She said that she'd been having problems during travel to where the pressure on her head, it would feel just so massive and heavy after travel, something she needed to get taken care of. Facial surgery, we're talking about, this could be a while on the shelf, and that's a good thing for the UFC and the women's 135 division, as we don't have a clear-cut contender. After this fight, there was no clear-cut contender. Holly Holm's name has came up, but really, I truly believe that in this big fight era, there is no bigger fight for Holly than facing Chris Cyborg up at 145 pounds, as there is no division there, and those are two huge names in WMMA. Now, would Nunes Holm be a big fight at 135? Yes, but Holm, coming off of the win over Beshkahea, has only won one fight in a row. That could earn you the fight with Cyborg because you two equal big names and there is a lack of depth in the division. At 35, it's a little more cloudy because you do have a Kat Zingano and you do have Raquel Pennington, who has been performing well lately. Marion Renault is making a strong case for herself as a top contender. And then you also have, coming off of a shocking upset this weekend, submitting Sara Mcmann. Sara Mcmann was the one who would, with a win at UFC 215, would be saying, I'm next for the winner of Shevchenko Nunes. That was not to be, as Caitlin Vieira was able to catch Mcmann in an arm triangle choke, one of McMahon's signature submissions. A big win for the young Brazilian, undefeated, jumping into the top 10. So we have some names in Renault and in Vieira, in Pennington, who can become these challengers and be next for Amanda Nunes. But at this moment, we don't have a clear-cut contender for Amanda Nunes, and she has some medical problems to get cleared up. So that's probably the best scenario for the UFC, and that 135 division. Now for the Jackson Wink camp, even though Ray Borg was unable to compete on Saturday night, there was still a pair of fighters on the card, and Mitch Clark showed a lot of heart, a lot of guts. He gets stopped. He faces a loss, but he fought in front of his hometown, Providence, and then announces his retirement from the sport of mixed martial arts. Congratulations on retirement and a great career for Mitch Clark, who put on several great fights inside of the octagon, ends his career at an 11-5 mark. Now also on the main card, Tyson Pedro from Australia, representing the Jackson Wink Academy, took on Alair Latifi. The undefeated Pedro gaining a lot of steam and momentum and hype as a possible future world champion. That all took a step back on Saturday night as the much more experienced Latifi would use his wrestling background and in the necessary moments would put Pedro on the cage and be able to hit the takedowns to win the rounds, even busted Pedro open around his left eye area, a little bit of blood. Believe me though, Tyson Pedro is not deterred, and this is not the last we've heard of the young Australian. It was one loss. He's now 6-1, still a top 15 light heavyweight, but not a great weekend of action for the Jackson Wink Academy. But some news coming out for fights from fighters at the Jackson Wink Academy. A bunch of local favorites. Diego Sanchez will be returning to 170 pounds in November 11th, taking on Matt Brown. Two guys that like to brawl. That one will definitely be exciting. You have John the Magician Dodson and Marlon Moraes agreed to meet coming up in September, or coming up in October. You will see the Magician against Magic, a great bantamweight contest coming up for UFC Fight Night in Poland. You're going to see young Darren Till from England, who trains out of Brazil, a classical Muay Thai striker, in the main event of UFC Fight Night on Fight Pass from Poland against Donald Cowboy Cerrone. That one is going to be a striking affair where somebody will most likely get knocked out. So several of the veterans of the fight scene, guys that we love to support, will be back in the octagon before we know it. On some local news, you have a boxing event we have coming up. Buffalo Thunder Resort and Casino will play host to Holmes Boxing Countries Collide on September 30th, a WBC title fight at the top of the card with Juan Garcia Mendes taking on Juan Jose Velasco. You have in the co-main event Argentina Raimonoso taking on Jose Osorio. Also Tone Martinez, Bryant McLean, and Aaron Martinez all on the card, regulars for that Holmes Boxing Buffalo Thunder card. That's September 30th. Coming up this weekend, to get some MMA action if you want to locally, head up to the Ute Mountain Casino that's in southern Colorado. King of the Cage presents El Diablo. The main event is going to see Kevin Worth against Force of Ones from Clovis, Jamie Calloway. Jamie's making his pro debut after a successful 4-0 amateur run that included a championship in that process. He was my guest, Jamie. If you go to CageMinds.com and check out this week's Cage Mind Uncensored podcast. The card will also see in a flyweight co-main event, or junior flyweight co-main event, 125 pounds, Joey Trevino from Impulse MMA against Levi Lookout Lucero of Lookouts Perez Fighting Systems. And in women's action, Tabitha Trevino versus Cheyenne Arredondo is also on the card, so you have that local MMA action to look forward to at the Ute Mountain Casino. If you don't want to get out, you want to stay home, you do have a pair of options, boxing and MMA this weekend. On the boxing side, you have the best pure boxing matchup that could possibly be made right now. Canelo Alvarez versus Triple G, Gennady Golovkin. These two are two of the hardest hitters in all of boxing. The youth is on the side of Canelo, 26 versus the 23-year-old Golovkin. But Golovkin is the more powerful puncher and has just been notorious for wearing guys down with heavy shots. You just can't take the kind of beating and the kind of ferocity that he puts in his punches for too long. He eventually wears guys out. But is Canelo younger, slicker, and is he experienced enough to give Golovkin his first career loss? It's a big pay-per-view. You can check it out this week. A little bit on the pricey side, $80, not quite that $100 for May Mac, but still $80 for a one-fight pay-per-view. Boxing always doing things a little bit differently. Or if you'd like some MMA action this week on Fox Sports 1, you do have UFC Fight Night from Pittsburgh, a middleweight main event where former Strikeforce, former UFC champion Luke Rockhold returns to the cage for the first time in over a year, taking on David Branch, who's on a 10-fight win streak. Branch is the former WSOF light heavyweight and middleweight champion, who with a win throws himself right into title contention. That would be going 2-0, and this is his second stint with the UFC, but this time he'd be 2-0. We know that Robert Whittaker is the interim middleweight champion, and he has his eyes on what's happening at UFC 217 between Michael Bisping and Georges St. Pierre. Branch would like to jump into that mix too at 185 pounds and make his name be known. In the co-main event this weekend, you'll have what's going to be a banger. Fight of the night, possibly written all over it. Former welterweight title challenger, devastating striker, Thiago Pitbull Alves takes on knockout artist, Platinum Mike Perry. Another great one there in the welterweight division. It's going to be an action-packed, fun card, I believe. Fight Night UFC on Fox Sports 1 from Pittsburgh. I believe it's UFC Fight Night 116. Now, some other local news that we got for you guys, I can let you guys know that Buffalo Thunder on October 14th will be playing host to the Jackson's MMA series. You have October 21st in Hobbs. You're going to be having School of Hard Knocks Promotions with a boxing event that just recently announced King Isidro Castillo III against Ambricio Batista will be the main event. And then in some more boxing news, Legacy Boxing Promotions. I know you guys know Legacy Boxing Showcase from here on Proview Networks. We'll be back November 11th, a stat card, cageminds.com, for the first 2 fights that have been announced for that card. And I think for this week, I've went over all that I got for you guys. This has been Cage Minds Uncensored, and there'll be more Red Menace TV in just a moment.
You know, we try to let all of our interns do everything here at Proview Sports Network. Sometimes it just doesn't pan out. Hey everybody, welcome to the Proview Rundown. I'm Adam Deal. What a big week in football, week 3. As you all know, come on! This Eagle, jeez.
Football's back right here on Proview Sports Network. All the best rivalries, all the best action, every game on Proview Sports Network, Comcast 26, and the game of the week on My 50 TV.
Hey, what a weekend, you guys. Oh, it was incredible. All right. Oh, by the way, it's me, Rusty the Sports Clan, for the Rusty the Sports Clan show. Football in all its glory happened this last weekend. I know, so let's get to it. It's sports break time, and we're going to start with the NFL. Everyone knew the Patriots were going to win on Thursday. Everybody, because they're the Super Bowl champs. They, broke out this brand new banner. The stadium was full. Everybody was there. They showed off their shiny new trophy. La 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 la. We're the best. Yeah, I know. Tom Brady was back. Bill Belichick and the Patriots. They never lose at home. Never. They've won like the last 4 seasons in a row without losing at home. Unbelievable. But wait, penalty. Tweet, 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 tweet. Somebody forgot to tell the Kansas City Chiefs to roll over and die for the Patriots on Thursday night. I know, that's what happened. It's exactly what happened. Because the Chiefs, they came out, bam, smacked him in the face. Bam, smacked him in the face again. And what happened? Okay, the Chiefs kind of came back, and they were actually ahead going in the 3rd quarter. But then 4th quarter, bam, 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 touchdown. Whoosh, touchdown. Smash Brady, another touchdown. Kansas City destroyed the Patriots. I know. How's that sound, Pats guy? Sound guy?
Go Pats.
Yeah, Yeah, they're going down. And to make things worse, afterward, Brady threw the whole team under the bus. He didn't take any of the blame for his subpar performance. Penalty! Old guy quarterback, throwing badly, playing badly, throwing everybody else under the bus. Not good. Poor sportsmanship on his part. All right, back to what we're talking about. We are still on the NFL. We are going to jump right into, get this, the Cowboys melodrama. All right, let me start off. We'll figure this out. Okay, first, Zeke is suspended for 6 games. Then, the NFL Players Association files an appeal. The suspension is upheld. Okay, but due to the timing of the appeal coming through, he is allowed to play in the first game, but is suspended for the second game. Wait, what? Is that a penalty or not? I don't know. I don't get what they just did. So, Zeke files suit against the NFL, and a judge says he can play this season while he looks at the fairness of the suspension and their, the way they go about doing it. But wait, the NFL is filing an appeal of that decision, which could mean he's again suspended starting next Sunday, or it could take, like up to 8 months to figure out whether he's suspended. I don't get it. Oh yeah, the Cowboys demolished the Giants 19-3 Sunday night. Yay, Cowboys! Yeah, Cowboys much better than Patriots. All right, moving on to the wacky world of college football. Ohio State. Yay, we're the best team in the country. We're Ohio State. Guess what happened there? Yeah, just like the Patriots. Yeah, Patriots thought they had a pass right to the Super Bowl. Ohio State thought they had a pass right to the Final Four. Well, penalty, tweet, tweet, tweet. Somebody forgot to tell Oklahoma State to roll over to Ohio State and lose. Yeah, see, that's what happened, because Oklahoma with Baker Mayfield and all his guys, they look like the real deal, and they really took it to Ohio State. So now Oklahoma is the number 2 team in the country, behind Alabama, because, Alabama's like this big machine that nobody can, get ahead of until the end of the season when they beat them in the playoff. Okay, Red Menace peeps, here's the deal. If you want to find out about Baca Fight Systems, you're going to have to watch my show on cable news, or, whatever we're on, Comcast, Proview, somebody. Not ESPN, not those other guys. No, the best, Proview. That's what you got to do. All right, so you got to follow me. Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff. Oh, and hey, Michael Carlisle, penalty on you, and here's why, because you didn't like my color combination last week. Don't like silver? What's wrong with you, dude? I'm getting ready for Halloween. Got to get things working out, and you're just like blowing smoke and yeah, done with you. Done with you. All right. Follow me to a game. Follow me on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter. Yeah, just what do you got to do? Just go, because I'm famous and stuff. If there's a game, an event, a meet, a match, anything not featuring Michael Carlisle, just go. Bye, guys.
I got to do the Michael Carlisle impersonation after that. Wow. So Rusty's going after Michael again. I mean, we had evil Rusty come in here and whip Michael Carlisle into shape. And now, I don't know, if he's evil Rusty, is this good Rusty? Or is that an oxymoron? I don't know. Rusty going after Michael Carlisle. You'll never see the end of this, of course. This battle will go on for eternity.
Has Carlisle ever actually gotten back at Rusty, though?
Well, I mean, he busts his chops a lot on the air. I don't know if he's ever gotten back at him. He tried to form a duel with Rusty and Zippity from 6'10", but of course, Zippity never showed up. So Rusty's like, I'm Rusty's second. This is like a duel now. Hey, real quick, I want to go over some of the games that's going to be on Proview Networks this weekend, so that way you can get a look and see some of the best of high school sports action here. La Cueva plays West Mesa Thursday night. There at Nusenda. Then this weekend, the My 50 TV of the game, Sandia High School versus Atrisco Heritage, 7 p.m. there on My 50 TV. Centennial comes up and plays Cleveland there in Cleveland Friday night at 7 p.m. Albuquerque High playing El Dorado, the Eagles, here at 7 p.m. there at Wilson Stadium. And Del Norte plays Atrisco Heritage Saturday. That's a Yaffle game, of course. And that's at 9 a.m. And yours truly will be on the call for that one. I said La Cueva East, right? I should have said it right. So then we have a sophomore game Saturday at 11 a.m. La Cueva East versus Cibola. El Magordo plays St. Pius that day. That's a high school game at the community stadium Saturday at 1 p.m. And Saturday football as well. Grants plays Hope, the Huskies there at Milne. And Saturday, men's college soccer live at 7 p.m. Kentucky versus UNM Lobos. And Sunday women's college soccer, NAU comes in and plays the Lobos again. That's at the UNM Soccer Complex. All that this weekend here on ProView Sports. Make sure you take a look at it, My 50 TV as well. We'll have it all here as we do all the time for high school, YAFL, and college sports here on ProView Sports. I want to thank Micah for all that he does, and John Bones Jones. Sorry, man, it was a good career, but unfortunately, I think you're pretty much finished. Also want to thank Alden for doing what he does. Even Josh back there. And if anyone has a truck, Josh needs a truck. Let's help him out. So, until next week, hopefully Michael Carlisle will be back. Until then, I will see you all next week. Go Lobos versus Boise State. God bless you all.